So, hi everyone, thank you for joining. This is actually our first webinar of the year, so I'm super pumped for that. And also the subject is amazing. It's bound to be a great one. So my name is Remco de Vries. Don't pronounce that, it's Dutch. I'm the VP Marketing at Inside It. And we're a customer success community platform. Basically, we build online community platforms for customer success teams in SaaS companies, which is a really great position to be in. And today we'll be discussing a hot topic, or at least I think it's a hot topic in customer success, which we've dubbed the rise of the digital CSM. And to be honest, I'm super excited about this one because, I don't know, you guys probably don't follow me, but if you have, I've been super vocal about how important it is for companies to set up a digital-led customer success strategy, or some people call it a tech touch strategy, others call it a low touch strategy. I mean, it's all kind of, sort of similar, but also very much not. And now recently we have been seeing a lot more actual digital CS roles pop up. And I think this is a super, super interesting development, especially also for the customer success market. So to help me make sense of this role and its purpose and where it fits into an organization, I'm super excited to be joined by Élisabeth Courland. You can unmute and show your camera now, Élisabeth. She was hired as the first dedicated digital CSM at TalentSoft last year, where she helps create customer experiences at scale. So welcome, Élisabeth. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Remco. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for receiving me. And I do agree with everything you've said. It's very difficult to find a title for our job. We never know if it's tech touch, scale, program manager. So it's a mess, but I'm glad that we are all, even if the title is very strange and very difficult to define, at least we are all going in the same direction, which is already a success.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've at least been told multiple times to not call it tech touch. People seem to really not like tech touch as a phrase or terminology. I don't know, but we can get into that later. First things first, a little housekeeping. So Élisabeth and I have prepared what we think are some great talking points to make sure that we cover the full width of the subject. However, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. So as you can see, we've just left the chat completely open. Q&A is completely open. You can just ask away and ask us anything you like. I will try to keep track of them. I also have Rhea here by my side who will help me try and do that. And I'll make sure to throw them into our conversation whenever I can. But in the case that I didn't cover your question, then don't fret. I'll make sure to basically gather all of the questions that we didn't cover, and I'll make sure to follow up on them after the webinar. So we'll definitely get to them. And then finally, because I've seen some questions in the chat already, the webinar is recorded, which is awesome. We will share it with everyone that registered after the webinar, but also, the file or the links will be available for anyone that didn't register but does want to see it. So no worries there. That's it for housekeeping. Are you ready, Élisabeth? Shall we do this? Good.
We have no choice.
No, we have no choice. There's a lot of people here. We have to do it now. No, so as always, we like to start with a little bit of guest background, or what we call what makes you uniquely qualified to talk about these topics. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you're currently doing at TalentSoft?
Sure. So I've been a customer success for 5 years, and I've mainly worked in startups building the first customer success management role. So I'm located in Paris, in France. And before TalentSoft, I mainly worked as a high touch customer success manager. Means a one-to-one customer success manager. I was dealing with companies in direct. So that was basically my job, and I've made the departments grow by dealing with the customer success management role, but also the support role. So I've learned what are the needs of the customers, what are the desired outcome. So it was a great experience for me in a way that I've learned the different phases in the customer journey, they what they want, what they expect, and do not tell you. So it was a great education for me. And for around a year now, I'm at TalentSoft, which is a SaaS platform, which is a SaaS company who provide a solution for human resources in order to help them unlock the potential of every single talent. So we provide different solutions in order to transform the organization in order for the talent to grow. So what I'm doing over there is basically digital CSM. So I'm the first one that I've been hired for this role, and we are opening a new role. So if you want to apply, I think Remco and Ray sticked the form on the top of the chat. And my job over there is basically to industrialize the relationship with our customers. So basically for the customers who we do not get in touch on a regular basis, I'm creating a lot of programmatic communications and approach in order to make sure we help them getting the most out of the solution, detect when they are or maybe at risk, and dealing with their satisfaction.
Super cool. So was it hard to transition from a very much high-touch approach to basically going to be a digital CSM? Is that completely different?
It is completely different. It's completely different for the role and also for in terms of perception. As you said at the very beginning, the role and the title of digital customer success manager, low touch, tech touch, doesn't matter the way you call it. But first of all, it's very vague, just like customer success managers, which is the main job when we started it a few years ago. So the first thing that I had to define when I entered this role was really what it is about. And in France, a few years ago, low-touch customer success management was mainly support management, building a lot of Q&A or scaling support. So it was really not what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was not communicating in a reactive way to my customers. It really was proactive in order to help them before they ask.
Yeah.
So it was very challenging. And when I've been in touch with TalentSoft for this position, we defined together what we wanted to do together and what we did not want to do. So, and what's important in this position is that I'm in the marketing department also. I'm not in the customer success department, but I think we'll cover that later, right? So it was not easy in a way that I needed to define first what I wanted to do and then make sure that we were on the same page with the company.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, so maybe first things first, because I have so many questions about that already, but first things first. So digital customer success, for the people that are on the call that don't really exactly know what to think of it, or for whom it still might be vague, do you have some form of quick definition or something on how you can summarize it?
Okay. Yes, I do. So customer success management at scale, as I call it, is basically taking care of customer success at scale. Basically, customer success customers who don't have a dedicated customer success manager, or the ones that we don't have time to exchange with enough. So basically, it's for what we call the long tail customers, the ones that do not pay enough to have a dedicated customer success manager. So we take care of these people. And the job is bringing them as many proactive information in order to turn them into ambassador, just like we would do for high-touch customer success manager, but in a programmatic way. So basically the job, if you know customer success manager, the job of the digital customer success management is translating the job into a programmatic approach, knowing that it will never be 100% digital. Like for instance, when you have a customer that wants to churn, you can send thousands of emails, you can schedule a lot of webinars. If the customer wants to leave you, he will leave you. At some point, you need to pick up the phone and speak with him. But basically, my job is making sure that we provide him or her as many documentation and resources as possible so he can become autonomous.
Yeah, exactly. So to immediately rope in a question from the chat. So, for example, how would the role from being a regular CSM, let's just call it that for now, and a digital CSM differ in the sense of what kind of skills or different skills do you now use? Or did you have to learn some different hard skills before you could actually do this? Or is it something that you just more or less transitioned into? How does the difference look like?
I think my previous experience clearly helped me in a way that I understood the customer journey previously. I understood what a customer expected from a software, and without taking into account the industry or the ARR or the number of persons within the account. So it really helped me. I did not have certain skills, but TalentSoft helped me to grow in this part. Like, for instance, as I was telling you, I'm in the marketing department. I'm working in the marketing department, and for that, we create a lot of communication to be sent to our customers. And writing marketing email is not really my best point. So we work with a freelance content manager, so he can help me writing emails for my customers. So that's a hard skill I did not get, but I got help from my companies in order to grow on that matter. However, a skill that I think we tend to use as high-touch customer success manager, but way more when you become a digital customer success manager, is data analysis. In a way that, and I had this conversation with someone who does the same job that I do, but with many more experience. When you start in this job, especially when you are the first one, you'll have thousands of ideas that you will want to implement as soon as possible. However, you need to set priorities. And he told me you need to set 3 priorities per quarters. And in order to set these priorities, you need to understand what are the emergencies. And for that, you need to understand the trends. And trends go with data. So data analysis was a skill I did not have. I had, but I had 2 strengths. And it's a skill that is, I would say, very important, if it's not one of the most important when it comes to digital customer success management. Obviously, we don't expect from the person to be a sales ops or to be a data analytics, but understanding the trends is very important.
Yeah, exactly. So at TalentSoft, you then also started out with data analysis. So what was the first thing that you found that you needed to start with when you started working as a digital CSM at TalentSoft?
Well, first I looked at the data. Who are our customer? What do we know from them? What do we don't know from them? And what can we do in order to help them? So I looked at the data. It took me some time, and as I needed more information, I first sent a survey asking to people, are you satisfied with TalentSoft? So basically, it was a way for me to identify the person who were unhappy enough to tell me, I'm not happy, help me. So it was really a quick win. And after, I had to deal with the unhappy but silent customers. So for that, we implemented different operations. And I've also worked on some static programs like the onboarding programs, the engagement programs, the re-onboarding programs. So many programs that we implement in order to serve as many customers as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And so those unhappy or unhappy but silent or unhappy but vocal about it customers, those were all in the digital segment, so the digital CS segment. And I think you mentioned prior that, do you guys define that segment only by ACV? So these are the lower ACV customers, the lower paying customers, or are there also other customers in that segment that might pay a lot, but for example, don't want to talk to a CSM every day? They would just want to do it themselves. How do you define that segment?
That's a very interesting question, because I know that other professionals that do the same jobs that I do, and I think about someone in the US. I think we've both talked to this person. It really depends the way you address the customer. So indeed, it can be based only on the revenue, which is the most recurring. And I think in France we rely on a lot on revenue to define if you want to assign a customer success manager or not. However, the person that I'm thinking about, he's sending right from the beginning a form to the person, to customers saying, hey, we want to communicate with you about customer success management, about product and about product education, etc. Do you want us to chat with you over the phone or over newsletter and stuff like that? And in that way, he can adapt the communication, and that's a very good way also to defer, but and to address customers. However, I think it's really rare that customers do not want to have a dedicated customer success manager and don't want to speak over the phone, except obviously if they are very talented with the tool and worked with the tool in their previous company.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting, because do you think then that it's because it's easy for customers to just have a dedicated CSM and you can just email that person, send all of the questions over, and you'll get an answer at some point, or they'll connect you to someone that's even more technical? Or is it because customers just don't want to spend time searching for an answer themselves? Or could it mean that you don't have the right thing set up for customers to be able to look for answers themselves?
I think you touched the very sensitive point. You're right. For customers in general, and I don't know if the audience will agree with me, but customers think that customer success managers are support managers. So they attend from what they expect from the customer success manager is an answer to support. And what we don't want as customer success managers, our nightmare is to become to work as a firefighting. So the customer says he has an issue. We just send back the message to customer care. We go back. We send again a message to point a product or an article, sorry, in the Q&A. That's really our nightmare. We don't want to do that. Our job as customer success manager really is to help the customer to take some distance from the operational side, the operational project, and tell them this is where you are now, and this is where you want to go tomorrow and the next year, etc. So in that sense, digital customer success management is really helpful in a way that if you set a boundary, like you cannot communicate with me directly with your customer, they have to read you in a way that they will say, okay, I cannot exchange directly with this person, but I know that if I have a direct issue, an operational issue with a product, I can talk to customer care. And the customer success manager will help me to take some distance in order to master the tool. And I think the main challenge for customer success managers now is really to make sure the customers understand that we are not support. We are here to help them take some distance.
Yeah, I love that. I've never heard that before, actually, but it's a nice definition of the CSM role. No, I mean, I like that. It's always about proactivity, right? In customer success, that's the holy grail for customer success, or at least from the time that I've spent with CSMs, that's always what people are trying to achieve. Is we want to be proactive towards our customers, and we want to make sure that we fix things before they become a problem, I guess. But that's always super hard. And I do also agree that I think customers tend to view customer success managers a little bit too much as also kind of like a support-ish role. But yeah, I guess it also depends on how you position yourself as a customer success team and how you actually offer value. So I guess that's a difficult thing.
If I may, when you use frameworks as customer success manager, like success plans or structures that help the customer to go beyond the tea time, like right now, it really helps the customer focus and understand that you are not here to help on the operational matter. You really help them to take some distance and achieve the most out of the product. But in order to do that, indeed, you need to make sure that it's very clear for your customer who you are, what you do and what you do not. And sometimes it's very challenging because it has to come in the onboarding phase when the customer has a lot to ingest already. And second of all, you need to put in place some frameworks and some documentation to make them understand that you provide added value for each exchange. And that's why also we said that customer success managers are trusted advisors.
Yeah. So by that definition, do you not feel that maybe there is a case to be made for a digital strategy or a digital-led strategy to be valuable for every customer, regardless of their ACV or of what they're paying you, or whether or not they like talking to your CSMs? That on some level, around certain questions or certain support areas or educational materials or something, you should always refer customers maybe to a digital strategy? I don't know.
Absolutely. And I think one of I did not implement that yet, but I think that what might be useful is always go back to the desired outcome, identifying with the customer, why did you buy the tool? What was your pain point and why you did not go to the competitor? And in that way, you can address the customer with added value, so you can help him to project himself. And that's tough for digital in a digital way, because it means that you need to have very articulated frameworks in the digital way. Like if the customer answers me that the desired outcome is 1, then I need to do this and this and this. And sometimes our customers don't even know what are their desired outcome. So I think that's one of the key things to develop in digital customer success manager. But obviously, I think it's easier for when you are high-touch customer success manager, because you can exchange with the customer and you can show the value more easily, because you don't have to deal with the programmatic approach.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I have one question about that, but I'm going to keep it because I think it fits better if I ask the following question first. So it's also come up a couple of times in the chat already, and I think it's also in the Q&A. So thanks for those questions. So you just mentioned you don't report into customer success. You're a digital customer success manager, but you don't report into customer success.
Exactly.
You actually report into marketing.
Yes.
So can you explain how that works and basically what does the marketing team then look like, and what's your relationship with the customer success team?
Sure. I work in the marketing department, and more especially in the unit customer experience. Customer experience, we have in the customer experience, we are dealing with all the issues that the customer can encounter. So within this department, we have a lot of talented people. I'm not speaking about me. So we have the cross-sell and upsell manager. So this person, he sends marketing campaign, and he collaborates with salespeople in order to make sure our customers receive the right offers or the right learnings, in order to make sure that our products are understood. An enablement manager who makes sure that all products have enough communication that is well understood by all our industries, all languages, all countries, and they go into detail and they are easily accessible. We have a customer experience manager who's taking care of surveys, and this person also relays feedback from customers to departments. We have a community manager, and she's taking care of the community. So we have a community of customers, and she's taking care of that. And I'm the digital customer success manager, and I'm only taking care of a small part of our customer, like what we call the community segment, which is not the same community, but the customer who don't have a dedicated CSM. So therefore, they have me.
Yeah.
So basically, I speak on a weekly basis with the customer success manager in order to understand what do they do, how do they work with the customers, to align and to translate what do they do into the digital way. But I'm in the marketing department because my actions require marketing actions, like a lot of programmatic approach. And my job is really, and I interact with my team, the CX team, but I'm also interacting with a lot of departments. So the data departments, the sales department, the product departments, PO, customer cares. So I'm speaking with a lot of people on a daily basis to make sure that our customers, as a team, like all of them, they can have easily an answer to their questions. So and of course, I speak a lot with the customer success managers in order to understand what do they do, how do they deal with the tricky issues when they encounter one. But really, my job is to make sure that all our customers benefit from a proactive communication, and I can make sure that they have added value during each single step of their journey. Does it answer the question?
I think so. So basically, you use a lot of materials, activities, maybe even tooling that already existed in the marketing organization.
Exactly.
And also some skills and experience that has been maybe with marketeers a lot longer. So for marketeers, obviously, it's very well known that they need to be good in email marketing and conversion and all those kind of things. And because the digital CS sort of approach that you're taking is very close and also requires those skills, it's easier to find them in the marketing department for your day-to-day work.
Exactly.
If I summarize correctly.
So I think I was clear. Thank
you.
Good.
And then, so if you then talk to the head of customer success once a week, what does that conversation then look like? Are you going over results from the strategies that you're putting out there, or for example, is part of what you're doing now also part of the success plan that they have with certain customers, or how does that work? I think that's also a question from the chat somewhere where people say, is it then like a scaled customer success plan or something?
I think what is important to know first is that at TalentSoft we are 700 people. So obviously it's a lot of people, and the communication may differ from a startups when you are 20.
Yeah.
So what's happening is that on a weekly basis, I attend to customer success management weekly coordination, and my job for over there is mainly listening to what's happening with different customers, so I can get inspired and translate what they do for their customer for my customers. And when I develop a project that can help the full customer basis, like for instance, a re-onboarding program, when you have a new sponsor that joins the company, obviously you need to get them on board, educate them about your product, and get some things new. So it will match with my customer base, but it can also match with the full one, with the one I'm not dealing with. In that case, I will check directly with the head of customer success manager to understand to validate that it's also in the way of business, that it's not a duplicate, that my action won't be a duplicate with what they do at the moment. And but it's mainly coordination. Once again, I don't report to them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, 2 questions from the chat that I think are important. So the first one from Alexander Billington is, could you clarify the programmatic approach, please, that requires marketing support? So what do you mean with a programmatic approach?
Sure. It's creating a lot of approach that are digital, like when the customer just join, when a prospect becomes a customer, then you have an action within the CRM to do, and when you tick an action, when the field goes from blank to filled, then an automatic email is sent, and then a task is sent. So programmatic approach is a mix of different tools that enable you to first update your team internally about what's happening regarding the customers, make sure the information regarding the customer is updating with your CRM, so everyone who will be in touch with your customer, so the sales, maybe me tomorrow if I need to get in touch with the person, the CX manager, the customer care manager, the advanced services, etc. All the people will know what happened to the customer, but also in parallel communicate well to the customer in order to make sure that it matches where they are in this part of the journey. For instance, we don't want someone who just joined the company to receive a bunch of communication like if it was the account was new, like we're just educating a person. Or we don't want someone that bought product A to receive communication like they were very advanced in product B that they never bought.
Yeah, exactly. So basically creating a bunch of touch points, rules, certain goals that you want to see achieved, at least in the systems that you're using. And then based on those, certain triggers will be there that will either send communication or do another action. Basically that's the programmatic approach. Yeah.
And I would say that in order to do that, you also need to have skills in project management. That's something I did not mention before, because I think you also need to be customer success management. You also need to have these skills when you are high touch. But obviously, you need to have very strong project management skills in order to get this position, because you will deal with a lot of departments to explain your project and evangelize it again and again.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a good question in the chat, actually. So how do you, if you're in the marketing team and you're basically using the same tech and tools. Maybe the first question would be, what does your tech stack look like? So maybe we could start there. And the second question is then also, how do you make sure that you don't overlap with marketing on communication? So how do you make sure that customers aren't being overloaded by your messages first, and then marketing sends a couple of campaigns over as well, and customers get 4 emails a day, for example?
Okay. So the stacks that we use, you mean the tech stack, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we use Salesforce. We use Marketo. We have an analysis platform. We have our product. We are also looking for tools in order to synchronize sales actions with our CRM, mainly Salesforce and Marketo, really. And I also collaborate a lot with the data department, but I only see the action via Power BI. Actually, that's another tool we use in order to make sure that we follow trends, and Zendesk.
Yeah.
So that's the tools I have access to. It doesn't mean that that's the only thing we need, that's the only thing we have, but this is the tech stack I'm the more familiar with, and that's the thing I'm using on a daily basis. And regarding the overlapping, which is a very good question first, so I'm within the customer experience department, meaning we are dealing with customers only. So we are always exchanging actually 3 times a week with this team to make sure to align on our ongoing projects, to make sure that we are all updated about what the other is doing. And in Marketo, our team set up a rule, so a customer cannot receive more than 2 communications every 7 days. So he cannot be overlapped by our communications. And we always make sure that we update every customer-facing teams about our ongoing actions, so they know exactly what could be the consequences and they can prepare to it. And basically, it's also my job with my team to provide documentation to the customer-facing team so they can face potential questions from customers.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So there is basically a shared calendar then, where all of the activities are on or are listed on, and you basically know when something's too much. And automation also helps, obviously, because Marketo obviously has those rules that you can't overload people with questions. Okay, cool. Yeah, there are a million questions in the chat, so I will. I will also pick those up in a second. But maybe small bit towards the original storyline. So when is the right time to start for a company? Because you basically mentioned we're a bigger company. You guys, I think, are 700 employees or something, which some would consider already being an enterprise company in SaaS. So when can you start with a strategy like this?
I would honestly say as soon as possible, because it requires, it does not only require communication, you also need to make sure that you have all the data that you need in order to make sure your communication is well targeted. So maybe this role can be taken by a high-touch customer success manager at the beginning in order to touch everyone, in collaboration with the marketing team. But at some point, you will need someone dedicated in order to address only this communication. But my advice would be think about this matter as soon as possible.
Yeah, because then you can set this up as soon as possible and make sure that it's already there for when, for example, you start to scale and a lot of customers actually start onboarding. Speaking of onboarding, I think it was asked by Philippe originally, but so what would a typical experience for a customer look like when they are onboarded in the digital segment?
It really depends it really depends regarding companies. What we do, for instance, is that we set up a set of different email links in order to make sure we provide all the information to the customers regarding who we are as a company, what our product do, like something very, very, very basic, what our customer journey look like what are the different phases and who are the different persons you will be in touch with, what will be the next steps. And we also send a survey at the end of the onboarding to validate that the content was enough. And that's actually a trigger for us, because if the person tells us, I'm not feeling autonomous enough, first we can make a quick win, call the person and fix the issue, but also optimize the communication very quickly.
Yeah. And how do you then measure if someone is autonomous enough? So is that measured against, for example, the ultimate goal that they have set in their customer success plan? So basically they had a sales cycle, they bought your product for some reason. That reason means that they will be using feature A, B, and C. And then during onboarding, you onboard them on those features, for example. And then when they actually successfully start using them, does that mean that they are proficient enough? Or do you mean something else?
I think it really depends regarding products. We don't use time to value at the moment. What we do is, for instance, as a community, like for Inside It, you build a community product, right? Yeah. So your objective as a company is to make sure that you will have a lot of people joining the community. So if you only have the administrators who connects a lot of times, who publish tons of articles, but who doesn't have anyone connected or joining the community, the product will be useless. So it doesn't really matter. It's not really a matter of features. It's really about isolating, does the product answers to your need? Yeah. And so there is two ways of measuring that, because as I was saying, we are a product for HR. So the product, for some of our product cannot be used right away. They are used in season. So we have different questions. So the first one is, you've been in touch with the project team, so you are now supposed to know how to use the product. Is that the case? And if not, we can adapt. And then when the season is passed and when they are supposed to have used or to have sent a campaign, we can measure if they are autonomous and therefore fix the issue if there is an issue.
If there is an issue. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. I'm very quickly moving on to a different section, because I also think that is important. So I want to move on to another hot topic in CS, or at least something that relates to this, and that is the customer journey. Everyone always talks about a customer journey and being able to map that and making sure that you have all touch points from either your CS team or your digital CS team in scope, and you know exactly what's happening and where. Some even have different journeys based on different segments and completely go crazy there. But yeah, there's been a lot of chatter about how that can help your customer success team figure out the best sort of progressional journey for any customer. So did you now build a completely different digital journey, or is the digital part or the digital CS part of the customer journey for at least the digital segment of your customers now part of the already existing journey that the customer success team had? I said the word journey a lot. I'm sorry. I hope it made sense.
Clear. The journey is not different for customers, because at the end of the day, you can spend a lot of money, as you will still need to have the product for certain purpose. So the journey is not different, but the way to address customer is different. And I want you to quote the VP of customer success from Chili Pepper, because she really helped me and spotting what I was trying to figure out for weeks. She told me that you need to identify the desired outcome. What do your customers want to achieve at the end of the day? Why did they buy your product? And then you go back from that point saying, in order to achieve that point, what is the necessary triggers? What do they really need to do? And based on that, you can define different scenarios in order to understand, okay, if the customer does that, do I want to communicate with him? If he does not do that, what do I do digitally or not digitally, and stuff like that. So it's really about addressing and developing a framework for customers, and the customer journey does not change.
Yeah, okay. So it's the same journey for everyone, but only the touch points of the journey are the things that change. So it might be a different channel, for example, or not a CSM, but
well, you can even contact the person more often on a digital basis. Like I suppose, like when your software, when your solution requires that you invite people to your solution in order that to work. If you have a real customer success manager in front of you, the person will call you once a week and they will do the action with you, or they can understand like the bigger picture. However, on a digital approach, you can send automatic or programmatic approach, like every 7 days, or after 3 days, after 5 days, after 7 days. You did not have a person. Do you need additional help, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Or you can also combine both approach, but it can be considered as spammy.
Yeah, true. Okay, cool. Yeah, and so maybe that also makes the next question easier because it's the same journey. So Kelvin Gray asks, have you ever transitioned a customer from a high-touch CS approach to a digital approach? And what did that process look like? Was it difficult? Was it difficult to understand for the customer? Or did the customer request it? That could also be possible.
A customer never requested it, that's for sure. I think we start working on that matter, but we did not. I did not have the opportunity to leave that. I think what's the most important is in customer success management in general, but especially when you go into the digital world, digital customer success management world, is being transparent with the customer and especially with the point of contact. And I'm always thinking, put yourself in the customer's shoes. Like as a customer, you were calling your customer success manager because you were thinking he was support every time you had a question, and from one day to another, you don't have any dedicated contact, and you are very scared that you're going to be left alone. No one will answer your tickets, or you will not be helped in order to grow. And I think what's very important is first to be informed by your customer success managers that he will leave you, explain you the reasons, or at least work with the marketing team or on the strategic level to explain this choice. And then being very transparent about the options that you offer the customers. If you want to be educated, this is the reason. If you have an idea that is not in our product yet, you can go there. If you need services, go there. Like, give as many resources as possible from scratch so the customer does not feel lost. Knowing that in the automatic communication that we will send as digital customer success manager, we will repeat these resources. But we need to take into account that the customer is scared because he's left alone. And our objective now is really to make him comfortable that we're not going to left him. We're just changing the way we communicate with him.
Yeah, or angry. I mean,
angry.
I think what most CSMs would be terrified of while you transition someone to a digital strategy is basically that the customer gets the feeling that they are not paying enough to get the attention of a committed CSM, and therefore they now need to use digital channels and everything. But yeah, some customers might be a little bit angry about that, maybe.
But I think you can use the same process when you are a CSM and when you ask a features that cannot be developed. You get very angry, is no one getting back to you. However, if as a customer success manager, you contact the customer, you say, you still have the same answer. We cannot develop this feature because our roadmap now is focusing on X, Y, Z, and your remark will be taken into account in that time. The result will still be the same, but it will not be received in the same way. So I think we really need to promote in general in customer success manager as companies transparency for our customers in order for them to understand what we're going through and what we can offer them.
Yeah, exactly. So transparency, focus on ease of use also. So making sure that if you then direct them to a digital channel to find educational materials or find a community or find something else, also make sure that it's super easy for them to be there, and don't basically make them go to 17 platforms with 17 different logins, etc.
Exactly.
And then it's definitely possible. Yeah, cool. Okay. So different kind of question, but did your target, obviously you're not a CSM anymore that is managing like 40 customers with a shared value of a million ARR or something. So how do you now measure your efforts? What are the most important KPIs that you're tracking?
Mm-hmm. So I'm measuring my efforts in different ways. First, my effort is making sure that we know our customers perfectly. So it's the mapping, making sure that we know who our customers, who are our personas. That's a topic we did not discuss, but that's very important. What are the usage? Being able to understand what customers are at risk and being able to communicate that with my counterpart from the sales team or the customer-facing teams in a good way. Satisfaction is also an important matter. And finally, the churn is the leading it's a lagging KPI, sorry, because at the end of the day, customer success manager are hired, high touch or low touch or digital touch, doesn't matter. They are hired in order to make sure the customer don't leave and pay more. So that's the main KPI and the main one I'm working with.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then if you look at the rest of this year, so what is the one thing you're setting out to achieve this year? What's the one thing that needs to happen?
So we're gonna hire someone to help me. So that's great. If it was not understood.
Time, like everything. Time. I need a little bit more time.
So no, but that's a great news because we're gonna be able to put more focus within data and increase our programmatic approach. So that's very great. We're also going to develop our analysis of potential accounts at risk. So that's a hot topic I'm working now on. And the objective is to identify customers that may be at risk and put a set of different action in place in order for us to communicate, to contact them automatically, but also humanly in order to make sure to understand why they are unhappy and switch the satisfaction as soon as possible. And in order to analyze the satisfaction, I use the DEAR framework. So my objective is to digitalize the DEAR framework. So for those who are not familiar with the DEAR framework, it's deployment, engagement, adoption, and ROI. And these are the four main pillars that we use in order to make sure that a customer is happy and satisfied with the tool. So if I can just spend a minute on that. Deployment is the onboarding. So basically, does the customer know how to use your product? Engagement, does he engage with your brand? So it can be support ticket, it can be one-to-one communication, it can be attend to event, basically show interest into your brand. Adoption is the usage of the product. And finally, ROI is the achievement of the desired outcome.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And to be honest, digitizing that framework actually also makes a lot of sense. I haven't heard that before. I think it's quite a nice framework that also fits a digital way. So yeah.
And, I would like to thank Alex Chan from Gainside because he was the one suggesting it.
Yeah, isn't it their framework? I thought it was their framework indeed. I'm not really sure anymore. So a question that was answered, which I think also relates nicely to this. So you're a digital CSM. You're no longer in high touch. Do you still speak to customers?
Absolutely. Because when I started, first I was new at the company, so I needed to understand the customer, but still I'm speaking with them when we hit to some point that it cannot be digitalized. When a customer is unhappy, before creating a documentation, we need to make sure that it answers to the need. So when we hit a point like when we don't understand the customer anymore, I act as a high-touch customer success manager to understand the issue, to make sure that the solution fits to the need, and therefore, if it works for 1 to 3, then I digitalize.
Cool. Okay, so basically using the high-touch skills or approach to then make sure that you can turn it into a one-to-many kind of system. Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm very briefly looking at the timer. We have 7 minutes left, so I'm just gonna quick fire some audience questions now because there are so many questions that we can never cover them all in follow-up. So this one is from Ricardo Composto. I think it's a really good question. So how do you manage requests from customers when they now come in? Do you have a pool-based approach, or does each CSM have a specific portfolio, and you in this case as well, and you just round up all of the requests or feature requests or feedback in general?
So regarding feature requests, we use our community. And as I was saying, we are very lucky that we are big companies. So we are 700. So when there is a product feature that is requested, product managers are able to answer that directly. So my job is mainly to redirect to the right persons. So when there is a question, I educate the person about customer care. When the person needs to escalate, say contact me directly, and I escalate to the right person. But at some point within the journey, if the customer does not know how to address a specific issue, it's a very good point for me, because therefore I can include that in my automatic communication and make sure it will be brought later on.
Cool. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Ricardo. Then another question: how many customers are actually? Oh, there are so many. How many customers are actually in your digital segment?
More than 700.
More than 700. Okay, that's actually quite a lot. Let me see. So another one, maybe: how much does digital CS management for customers focus on product engagement versus methodology and best practice coaching? So how much of your... No, I think what Philip means is how much of your focus goes towards making sure that customers can use the product well, are adopting the right features, and are using them in the right way, versus making sure that you have all of the channels in place, that you, I think that's what methodology means at least, and sort of a digital version of coaching of what customers are doing.
I understand. I will go back to my priorities. Like, for instance, for this quarter, my focus is really about finishing projects from last year that lasted too long, and implementing measurement of the product usage. So that will be my focus for this quarter. So I don't want to have too much projects, not really about 50%, 70%, etc., because you also have to deal with emergencies that you never planned. I will go back to set 3 priorities every month or every quarter and make sure they are achieved. Because the thing is, it's even when it just goes to product measurement or product usage, you need to speak to a lot of persons, and you need to implement a lot of things, and you need to test the thing. And this requires time, way more than you would do as high-touch customer success manager, when you will just ask a question and then redirect it to customers. So it really takes more time.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Thanks for that. And then another question, which I think is interesting, and I saw it pop up a couple of times, is, so you're responsible for these more than 700 digital customers. Do you then also deal with renewals and all of those things of those customers, or do you only deal with their success of your product?
Absolutely, I'm only dealing with the success of my customers. But from one company to another, the role of customer success management really changed. So I would say it really depends. It really depends on companies. Do not take my experience as granted.
Yeah. Cool. A question from JB. First of all, you are fantastic, Élisabeth. So take that. Second, what do you use to do programmatic communication to turn them into ambassadors? So do you also have an advocacy program?
That's a very good question. Actually, I'm working with the person in charge of customer experience to do that. And for instance, when we have we send surveys like NPS surveys, or even the survey I popped up when I started at TalentSoft, which was, "Are you satisfied with TalentSoft?" When the person had popped up a very good score, like it was a promoter, or they answered, "Yes, I'm super happy with TalentSoft." Therefore, we've put them into a specific bucket. We've contacted them in order to understand to ask them if they would be interested into different projects. So it could be, would you agree to speak to an event? Would you agree to be included into our marketing communication? Can you be a reference? Can you be more involved in the community? So we wanted to ask as many questions as possible, so we could diverse our ambassadors program and making sure we can use the potential of each of our customers. We just on that matter, I just want to point out, that it is very important when you send a survey to not make the survey too long. And to precise in the topic in the email, like in the body of the email, how many questions do you have to ask to the customers, so they are not surprised, and you install from scratch a transparent relationship.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We could actually do a whole new webinar on the whole advocacy thing. I have so many questions about that as well. But maybe final audience question, which I think is an important one. So do you also do in-product communication?
It's not my job. My job is mainly about sending off-product communications, but it can absolutely be in one of the. It can absolutely be in the job description of the digital customer success manager. For us, it's dealt by the product management team, which makes sense because they know exactly what they want to point out regarding the product. My job is at the moment making sure our customers are using our product, and therefore we will go beyond. Like, now that you use our product, do you use the feature, the gold feature? But at the moment, that's not my focus.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a next step, maybe.
Exactly.
Should be a next step. Yeah. So we're out of time. Unfortunately, this has gone really, really quickly. So first of all, really want to thank the audience. Thank you guys for joining, but also thanks for the crazy engagement in the chat and also the insane amount of questions. I know we haven't covered all of them. But I will make sure that I keep record of what questions were asked. I think Rhea here has helped me out to figure out which one we answered and which one we didn't. So I'll follow up on them. I'll talk to Élisabeth and we'll answer every single one of them and make sure they get to you. As I mentioned, this webinar is recorded. I will make sure that the recording goes to everyone, and the recording will also be available on our website, so insideit.com, but it also probably will be available with Élisabeth somewhere. And if you want to listen back to it, that's the way to do it. Finally, before I give the word to you, I really want to personally thank you, Élisabeth. This has been awesome. I love this topic, and I think and expect that there will be a lot more chatter about this topic in the future. So thank you for that. Thanks for joining and sharing all of your wisdom. And I know you want to say something still. So go ahead.
And then I stop, I swear. I'm also super interested into this topic. I think it's a new topic for customer success manager. It's really important. And so I'm finalizing a website which will be called the Digital CSM. That will be available on my LinkedIn profile. You will be able to check that. And the objective is to evangelize on the operational level of regarding the digital customer success management. So if you want to add me or follow me on LinkedIn, I will add that in the coming weeks.
Awesome closing note. So Élisabeth's building a website. You can find everything regarding tactics, just really tactical things. How do you set this up? When do you start about the digital CS profession there? So you can actually steal all of her wisdom, which I think is amazing. So check her LinkedIn profile for that. Yeah. Thank you, guys. I'm going to end the webinar and the recording now. I hope everyone has a nice evening or day, depends on where you're from. Yeah, Élisabeth, thanks again. And hope to do this again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Cool. Bye-bye.